front row, front row. All righty, my friends, thank you so much for being here today. I guess this is the second year for this event, and it's my first year being here, and I am like super thrilled about this event. I think the quality is amazing, the vendors are amazing, and I can't wait to start telling everybody about it so they can come next year with all of you guys. But I thank you for being here in my session today. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about the decisions that drive your business to success. And before we get started, I know this event is designed for designers and architects. Who here is an interior designer? And any architects with us? Okay, so we're a little bit, almost half and half. Um, what I want to do is I want to talk about what I believe there's three keys in my mind to success as a leader. All right. And success as a leader is going to translate to your business, the way it runs. It's also going to translate to the way you interact, designer to architect, designer to builder, architect to builder, architect to designer. And for me, it starts in the center of the way you look at leadership. And what I find is that many people go into business because they have a passion. Um, First of all, how many people are familiar with who I am and my podcast, A Well-Designed Business? Okay, so some, but not all. So I come from the window treatment industry. In 1982, my husband and I opened a custom window treatment and awning retail showroom in Livingston, New Jersey. We sold it 3 years ago to my daughter and her husband. We took it from ground zero, open, startup business to it'll hit $5 million this year. So we built this business up from the ground up, and designers and architects were my clients, in addition to retail consumers. And so 10 years ago, I started this podcast called A Well-Designed Business, where I teach through interviews with designers like yourself and other industry professionals and solo episodes, the best way to run a profitable business. Okay, I found that in all the years that I was doing business with interior designers, so often we'd be at the end of the driveway, after we measured a project together, or Sandra Funk and I always make a joke. One time we were standing in her client's bathtub for, a big bath shower for like 40 minutes, and they finally came in, they're like, "Are you guys still here?" Right? Because we got involved in deep conversations, and we'd always get involved. I always find myself in deep conversations with designers about how to run the business profitably. Why am I running in circles? Why am I doing so much work? Why do not the clients recognize the value that I bring? Everybody wants me to do it for a lower price. Faggy just said to me today, "Oh, I can design your whole yada yada for $3,700. And she's like, "That's insanity," right? Like, that's not even a reasonable amount of money, right? And so I found myself in all these conversations. And then 10 years ago, when I went to start the podcast, what I have learned is about the community of interior designers and architects to some extent, but designers definitely. I've never met a designer that's a designer just because. My mother was a designer, so I figured maybe I'd do it. The person down the block was a designer, so I figured maybe I'd do it. Instead, after 1,100 interviews on one podcast, 300 interviews on another, dozens and dozens of live events in 10 years, I have never met an interior designer that isn't passionate about the work that you do. Like, every one of you, like, I was moving my furniture around my room when I was 10 years old, and I would help my mother do this, and my grandmother that. And this is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing to work in a field that you feel so deeply connected to the outcome that you do. Not only just the physical, objective outcome that you deliver, but the outcome that you deliver to the person that you've designed for, the entity, whether it's a commercial client or a residential client. That's an amazing place to be, that you get up every day and do what you love. But it's the double-edged sword of this industry. Because you love it so much, you tend to do it because you love it so much. And you don't attach the value to doing it, to getting paid for doing it. And that is the disconnect that I found. It's like, I love it. It's easy for me. I enjoy it. Okay, maybe I'll lower the price here or I won't raise the price there because, I really want this person to have this, or I really want to do this project. It's a great project, okay? And when I think about it at its core, what's happening in this moment is it's a business owner that's functioning like an employee. Because an employee is not attached necessarily to self-driven outcomes. An employee, if you're a smart business owner, will give outcomes, will give KPIs, will give quotas to an employee. But if you are the employee and the business owner, and you don't step out of employee role into business owner role, you often can run your business for many years without any objectives, without any goals, without any KPIs, without any quotas. And you just do what comes, what is available, and what you can land, as opposed to designing it with purpose intention. And so when I think about leading your business, excellence is a decision, is what this conversation is called today, is to me, the keys of leadership are you are the one to set the mission and the vision. And many, many, many business owners, not just designers, not just architects, bricklayers, cupcake makers, it is the number one thing that business owners skip, is skipping the step of establishing the mission and vision for their company. Just opening the doors, printing the cards, and saying, I am XYZ Interiors. I am XYZ architectural firm. And the crazy part is I have asked so many designers this. It's never been anything other than the exact same answer. If you were given a new project, if you're an architect and you're giving a new house to design, if you're a designer and you're given a new, home to design, do you just start like as a designer, like, oh, that sofa looks good, that lamp looks good, that, paint color looks good? If you're an architect, you just like start going, well, you know what, a 10 by 20 room here and a 15 by 20 room there. No, you start with a plan, right? You don't buy the furniture before you know what the floor plan is. You don't decide on the lighting schematic before you know what the floor plan is. But yet, I won't ask for a raise of hands because I know it's probably 10%. How many people, when they opened their business, did their business cards, put their website up, had a business plan? 90% of business owners do not have a business plan. And here's the good news. It's not too late. I don't care if you're in business 5 years or 20. You can sit down and do the work, because everything comes from the business plan. And that's what I was talking about when you go in and you think of as an employee or an owner. An employee just shows up to work. I'm here to work. It's my first day of work or my 250th day of work or my 2000th day of work. I just come to work. But an owner has a plan for it. An owner understands. Today is my day. It's the first day of December. It's the second day of December. And this is my goal in sales for this month. This is my cost to be open in my business this month. So how many people know what their cost to be open number is for their business? Yay, my podcast listeners know. I can tell you that right now, okay? So the thing is, do we know what our cost to be open number is? Like, what does it represent, right? So our cost to be open number is every single thing that it costs you, whether you have a consumer in your business or not. So if you have a studio space, you have to pay the rent. The landlord doesn't care if you haven't had a client in 3 months. The rent is due. Your cell phone is due. Your business insurance is due. Your CPA bill is due. Your car insurance is due. Your car payments are due. These are costs to be open numbers. Your software stack, right? If you use Chief Architect, if you use MyDoma Studio, whatever you use ChatGPT Pro version, right? These things have to be paid whether you have an active client or not. And so the employee doesn't care about this. You see, The employee just gets up and comes to work and is like, oh, I've got a room to design. I've got things I've got to source. I've got a house I've got to do the plans for. The owner walks through the door and says, it's the second day of the month. My cost to be open number this month is $2,800 or $28,000, or you're like Window Works, it's like $250,000 a month, okay? And what's my plan to get to this number by December 31st? So that's what I mean when I talk to about are you showing up as the employee or the owner? Now, you have employee roles to do. You do have to show up as the employee every day, because when you sit down and you start to design the floor plan, when you sit down and you start to source, when you take a meeting with the architect or vice versa, that's that employee. Hey, Mimi. That's that employee doing that work. But when do you do owner work? When do you do owner work? And if you have not figured out what your cost to be a number is, you're not doing owner work. That's a basic first level owner work, okay? And then from there, you're building the plan to support that cost to be open number. And what happens is when you are acutely aware of your owner role, you will not give away your value as the employee. Because as the owner, you know these non-negotiable things are going to happen. No matter how much you love this job, no matter how good it is for photographs, no matter how nice the people are, or no matter how intimidated you are to say yes, no, or the other thing to that person. It's like this has to be done, right? And so it's funny because one mechanism that I don't know, it just mistakenly one time happened in a conversation, and it was such a light bulb moment for the person I was talking to that I've shared it ever since. It's like if you were the owner and you had a designer or an architect working for you on your team and they were responsible for closing projects, if you said to that designer, you know, our minimum design fee per room is $5,000, or our minimum design fee per room is $15,000, and our minimum markup on every single piece of furniture we sell is 45%. If that employee walked through the door and was like, you know, I'm so sorry, you know, Faggy, this time I just had to sell it. I know it was $10,000, but I gave it to them for $5,000, and I told them we'd only give 10% markup. You'd be like, sweetie, this isn't how this rolls. We don't do this stuff here. But as owners, you do it all the time, because I talk to you. I know you do, okay? The other thing that you do as owners is you work on a project and you have 15 billable hours and you sit there at the end of the week and you're like, it feels like a lot. I don't think I could say 15 hours. I don't know, maybe I'll just mark it down for 10. I'll just make it 10. Could you imagine if you had an employee that did that? You'd be like, I'm sorry, what kind of math world are you living in? I'm going to pay you for 10. We're putting 10 on the invoice because that's how many you worked. And so this is the thing, the shift of recognizing owner role, employee role. All right? I'm so sorry about this mic. Are you guys okay with this? And so when you ignore owner role, this is when you bleed money. This is when the company never makes the strides. It doesn't make the advances. It doesn't build wealth. Because the whole thing about being self-employed, whether you're an architect, a designer, a builder, whatever it is, if your name is on that door and you are the one that has to pay the taxes for that business, and or you are the one that is responsible for everything, then you should be creating more than a job for yourself. You should be creating wealth, not a salary. Because if you are not going to do the owner role and you are not going to create wealth for yourself, go work for somebody. We all need the rock stars. I met 2 or 3 people today that, like, the principal introduced, like, this is my right-hand person. This is my brain. This is the person that gets everything done. We all need those people. And I always say, if you took your resume, go ahead. Thank you. If you took your resume and you put it completely together, now that's super loud, and you put it out, I don't care if you are 5 years in the industry or 25 years in the industry, you put your resume, your education, your experience, your job history, everything. If you are not paying yourself in your own company what you could go earn from someone else, we have a huge problem. We have a huge problem. And I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I see principals that are paying themselves $45,000 and $50,000 and $80,000 a year that I guarantee you with my contacts and your resume, I could probably get you a job by the end of the week paying you $150K. And guess what? You don't wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning wonder if you paid your sales tax. You just sleep through the night. So I'm not advocating that you quit and work for somebody else. I'm advocating that you show up as the owner and design into your business the things that the owner is supposed to get out of it. And that starts with establishing your mission and your vision for your business. Who are we going to serve? How are we going to serve them? What kind of clients are our clients? Don't worry about the ones that are not your clients. It doesn't matter, right? I was talking again with Faggy this morning about a designer that I interviewed on the podcast, and she lives in France, in Paris. She's from Australia, and her client, she says right on her website, she tells everybody she meets, English-speaking expats living in Paris. That's it. But you know what? She's the go-to for the English-speaking expats that live in Paris. There's like, you come over there and you're like from, England, or you're from the States, and you're like want to design your apartment in Paris, and you Google interior designer speaks English in Paris, boom, here she comes. Oh, and you specialize just in blah, blah, blah. She doesn't get up every day going, oh my God, I wonder if I should get all the French people to do their house too. Like, I wonder if I should, all these people I have next to, should I do their, she don't care, right? Because you don't need 40,000 clients, you need what you need. But that's the other thing. What do you need? You see, it's a perfect time of the year. You should be doing your profit plan for 2026 if it's not done already. You should know, what is your product mix? So do you do only full service, full houses, full floors? What is it? But you also filter this in. Do you do one-off rooms? I will tell you that I have never met any designer, I don't care what level they are, from Nate Berkus to Corey Damon to whoever, that only does full houses, that never does one rooms. Everybody needs to pay the bills. Everybody needs to keep the lights on, okay? So you need to understand, what is your mix of full house projects? In January, you should wake up and know, January 1st, 2026, I need one full house project a quarter, or I need 2 in a year. And then additionally, I need, and that might be a design for construction, ground up. I need 3 of those a year. I additionally need 3 reno projects, a basement, a kitchen, a whatever. I additionally need 8 one-room projects, because you should know your profitability on each of these types of projects. You should know that on a full house, I generally am going to net 150K net, okay? You should know on a one-off room, I'm going to net 5K, whatever it is. And now you build your business out, your plan out, just like you decide what size area rug, what the lighting schematic is. You plan your business out. And what happens is, the second in January you sign that first full house project, now you're concentrating on the one-off kitchen. Now you're concentrating on the other things, because you've nailed that one. You're going to execute. That's going to happen in the background. But you're now also, you don't need to talk to people and convince somebody else to do a full house, because you've got that project. Go get the ones that fill it in. Or if your business model is, because you know your cost to be open number, you only do 4 full houses a year. That's fine. So you've got your 1 full house on the books, you've got the contract signed, you're executing and you're surfing and you're fishing for that 2nd full house. And you're gonna tell them though, your start date's April. I'm gonna get you in January, February, March, but I'm gonna start you in April, right? So you're managing your pipeline. You are showing up every day doing the employee work, but you're every day doing your owner work. And you're knowing what's happened. It's proactive, not reactive, right? Because what's reactive? That you get what you get. You get what you get. That's a reaction. It happens to you. But business, your own business, should be something that you happen to it. Your brain navigates it. Your plan, your mission, your vision establishes where it's going to go, okay? The second thing about, the keys of leadership and the keys of this quagmire of establishing the clarity between owner and employee in your own brain is the documentation of the systems. Okay, now for those of you who've listened to the podcast, my goodness gracious, if you don't know you need a process now and it needs to be documented, I can't help you. Okay, you are a lost cause. But the documentation of process and systems, this is so critical because interior design, first of all, is probably one of the single most complex jobs on the planet. I mean, honest to God, there is just nothing average about what you do. There's nothing average about the number of details that you manage in a day, a week, a month, a year. And I have so much admiration for what's on your plate. For 40 years, I did custom window treatments for interior designers and for retail consumers. And when I think about just my slice of it, when I would be with an interior designer working on a whole house project, or even one room, it doesn't matter, but particularly a whole house project, 15, 20, 30,000, 15, 20,000 square foot homes, and you've got 30 rooms, and each room has got 3 or 4 windows, and what's the drapery hardware? How many brackets do I need? How many rings do I need? Where does the trim go? Is it a 1/4 inch from the edge? Is it right at the edge? Is it 3 inches from the edge? What the heck is going on here? That was just the window treatments. Is this one motorized? Is it, spring assist lift? Is, what the, that's bonkers. And every single time I would have a moment of, this is just too much. I would look at my designer counterpart and I think, this is kind of easy compared to what you have to do. Because you have to do that in every aspect, right? So the thing about it is in interior design, what I mostly meet is designers that aspire to the luxury market, right? I've never met a designer that says, I just want to stay right down here and I just want to pick paint colors, okay? I know there are designers that have left luxury, full service design, to just do consultative design, trading hours for dollars. Usually happens in a period of life that it makes sense, whether it's a period when children are small, a period when parents need help, a period when, whatever it is. But by and by, most of you are looking to upscale to the luxury client. And I'm going to tell you what, the many conversations I've had, if you're not looking hard square in the mirror at yourself and what you're doing, and you can't recognize that you are not delivering at luxury, you're never going to break through. You must face the music. If you do not have documented processes, if you do not have conversations with your trades about how your projects go, you just allow the trades to show up and do what they do because they're good people and they'll probably do the right thing, you are not ready for luxury. You are not running a luxury project because the most successful high-end firms establish the rules. They say, this is how my projects roll, all right? And it doesn't mean that you have to be unkind about it. It doesn't mean that you have to be bossy about it. It's just, like most of you here are parents, right? We all know the parent that runs around screaming. Nobody listens, nobody puts their shoes on, nobody goes to bed. And we also know the parent that's like, it's bedtime. Let's go. Right? No screaming, no yelling. Kids know the rules. We eat, we do homework, we get a bath, we get to bed. Let's go. It's the routine. The kids that, you know it, those of you who are parents, the more routine driven your kids are, the less trouble you have in the routine. You know what that is? That's a system, my friends. That's a system. The kids get the plan, right? Okay? And so when you show up on the job and it's clear that you have a process and a system, I promise you, your vendors will follow you. Just like every kid wants the parent who sets the rules, every vendor wants to know the rules too. Every vendor wants to know what's expected when they get on the job. How can they make you happy? How can they make your client happy? How can we get this job done fastest, easiest, most efficient, and with the best, beautiful outcome? But if you're just like on the project reacting, you haven't established it, then you look around and wonder why it's chaos. One day you put a kid to bed at 8 o'clock, one day you give them a shower, one day you don't, one day they do the homework, one day they don't, one day they eat before homework, one day they eat after. I'm sorry, who created the chaos? You did. How's the kid supposed to know today's the day, do the homework, and then eat, when it's different every day? It's the exact same thing on your projects. And when you work with architects or builders or contractors or vendors, it is your right, it is your position, it is your job to say, hey, we're all going to do this next thing together for the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever the project is. Who's going to do what? How is it going to roll? Here's how I do it. Does that work with the way you do it? Can this fit in? No, okay. Somebody says, no, blah, blah, blah. Well, at this point is the time to debate that, right? So if, say you're accustomed to delivering all the lighting on a new build, which is kind of unusual, right? So a lot of times the builder is going to do like maybe the perfunctory lighting, and you guys are going to do the chandeliers and the sconces and stuff. But every once in a while you run into a builder like, that all goes through me. Well, but when do you find that out? Do you find that out before, or do you find that out when it's time to place the lighting order? See, because if you find out before, you can debate it. And hey, Putty, that's me. I sell the lighting. No, I always sell the lighting, blah, blah, blah. I hate when designers order the lighting, pieces always missing, blah, 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 right? But it's a conversation now. It's not a reaction 3 months into the project and a debate and a problem, because it's been established and you both had the chance to say pro or con, and you come to an agreement. So this is leading the project. This is being the owner, not the employee that's showing up on the job site. Very different. Okay, a lot of times I'll get a designer, they'll say to me, they will not have done this established in the beginning, setting this meeting ahead of time, having the powwow, and they'll be halfway in the middle of a project and they're just like, the builder keeps throwing me under the bus, this is insanity, blah, blah, blah. I had actually a real situation with one of my chairman of board clients in September, and she actually comes from an architectural firm, so she does architectural level drawings, even though there's an architect on the project actually stamping the drawings and doing the thing, right? So it's the architect on the project, obviously the contractor on the project, and her on the project. And one day she calls me up and she says, I just got this text from the client who is saying, stop the entire project now, don't do anything else, because the window in the one room is in the wrong spot, and the builder said it's not supposed to be there. And the designer was in a tizzy. Oh my God, I checked, I beat about, and I'm like, who put the window there? I mean, did you go knock out the wall and put the window there, or did the builder do that? Like, but the reaction was immediately, I'm in trouble. This is my fault. This project is stopped, and it's there. And I'm like, well, is she saying that you did it wrong, or is she just saying it's wrong, right? And so when they finally wound it back, I said to her, just go on a fact-finding mission. Please leave all your emotion outside the door here for right now. Believe me, I'll get nervous and crazy and worried with you if we get to that point. I'll go there with you. But right now, let's just find out what's happening. And it turned out that the architect had done an original set of drawings. She had done revisions to the drawings, gave them to the architect, gave them to the builder, that were approved by the homeowner. But the builder, he was just working off the original plans. And literally wanted to sit there and say, it wasn't his fault. Oh, literally said, you can't expect me. She's like, I got a set of plans at the house. You've got a set of plans in your email. There's a set of, I don't know. There's a set of plans underneath the front seat of the car. There's plans everywhere. Oh, you can't expect me on the job to sit there and go through plans while I'm in the middle of building. You see, though, I actually can. I actually can. And so I said to her in that situation, I said, well, this was a you problem over there. This is an architect, homeowner, builder problem. This is not a you problem. And you say to your homeowner, I'll advocate for you in any way what you want. I'm on your side, but here is the most recent drawings, and this is not what your room looks like. Go raise hell. Go cry in a corner. Go make them change it. Live with it. You do you on this, but I'm good. And the thing was that the reason I tell this story is because when this job started, the only person in the middle of these three people, designer, architect, and builder, was the client. And that's the core of the problem. If you listen to my podcast, you know that I say every single project, do an autopsy of the project, go back and first of all, find out, did it make money? I'm going to get to that in a second. Did it make money? Where were the problems? What went well? Every time there's a problem, figure out now, hindsight, how that problem could have not happened. Because if you just have a problem, project after project, and you never do that autopsy, you just keep repeating the same mistakes. Maybe not every job in a row, but a mistake that you made in one job in the first quarter of the year, the same mistake bites you in the butt the third quarter of the year because you really didn't take the time to sit on it and analyze it, right? But what I say is wind it back. So in this situation, face value in this moment, I'm like, this is not a you problem. This is a them problem. But I said, for future, how could you never be in this situation again? And she just looked at me. And I said to her, and she's like, I'm not sure. I mean, if the builder isn't going to follow the most recent drawings, like, how can I do that? I can't be on that job site every day. I said, keep thinking, baby. Keep thinking. And finally, she arrived at, oh, if we had a meeting, a kickoff meeting, and we established that if I have a revision to the plans, it's going to the architect. So, Mr. Builder, you got to keep making sure you are in communication over here. Or if I have a revision, I'm sending it to all of you and I'm marking it revised. You can't ignore it. Like, whatever the path is, but there is always a way, if you pay attention, to figure out something that went wrong, how to not be in that situation again. And that's when you immediately go and you update your SOPs. But for this particular conversation, it goes back to who's the owner of this design firm on this project and who's the employee. The employee reacts to the builder and the architect and the client. The owner manages it and sees the road ahead and says, this has been my experience. If this and this isn't in place, then we have miscommunication. This is the way I handle it. I'm open to how you handle it. Here's the big secret for you. Most of them aren't going to have a way to handle it. Most of them aren't. They're going to be like, oh, you have an idea how to do this? Yay, right? Because 90% of the business out there doing the same thing, just showing up as the employee, just doing stuff, okay? So as soon as you corral it and put a process to it, you're now the leader of the job, all right? So, and the thing about it is the combination of process and documentation is directly related to your ability to earn your fees. It is directly related. Number one, how it's directly related is when you actually document what you do, right? So I remember, Mimi probably remembers this story. I remember Sarah Brennan, her second year in business. You know, I'm drilling it into her. She's listening to the podcast every day. We're talking on the phone every couple of weeks, and I'm drilling it in. You're brand new. The business is little. Go document everything you do. You're not managing millions of dollars worth of projects now. You're managing little ones. Document it. This is easy, right? It's like write an essay in English 101 versus, English 404 in French on, Shakespeare. I'm like, it's easy now. And so one day she has a problem with a project. She calls me up and she's like, I don't know what to do. This whole thing blew up. I thought this project was going great, blah, 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 blah. She goes, it just all literally was in practically a yelling match with the client and the contractor on the job. And I said to her, well, what are you doing? Where did this step went wrong? And she was like, blah, 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 this step. And I'm like, okay, so tell me your process in this step. Tell me the steps in that step. And she's like, the step. And it was on installation. It just came to me. It was on the install reveal. It was pre-COVID. She goes, it's the last step, install reveal. And I'm like, yeah, but what's all the steps on the last step? And she's like, the steps on the last step? I'm like, girl, you probably have a go bag. You have the dog has to go to the kennel. Like I don't know what the damn steps are in an installation reveal, but I know it isn't just install, right? And she was like, oh. And I'm like, all of it. All of it. Who's hanging the pictures? Who's deciding they're right? Who's putting the toilet paper in the toilet paper holders? Like, what are you doing, right? And so the thing about it is when you take the time to not only document the 10-step process of a project, but every single step within the 10, it's like a drop-down screen, right? Okay, step 1, whoa, 40 things under it. Step 2, 40 things under it, right? When you take the time to do that, I have never, ever, ever, ever met a designer that has taken the time to do that and has not raised their rates that day. I have also never met a designer who has taken the time to do that and has backed off their rates. It's like, this is what this is worth. This is a $50,000 design fee. I will take 45% on every single piece of thing that I sell you. And if you don't want it, it's very fine with me. Because I am 1,000% confident that it isn't going to be an hour to do this or 3 hours to do this. It's this many hours. That's another great story for you. I was coaching a designer one time, and she had the opportunity for the first time to do a project in California. She was in New Jersey. And it was like an acquaintance friend. And basically, they were in the same book club together for 10 years. And it wasn't a designer book club. And this woman knew for 10 years that she was an interior designer. Meanwhile, this woman had a home in New Jersey, a home in California, and a home in Arizona, and all through the 10 years of the book club would mention, oh, I'm meeting my designer next week in California, I'm meeting my designer next week in Arizona, oh, my designer's coming to my house in Jersey, New York, or wherever she was. And it just was like this unsaid thing in there that I'm a designer in our book club and you never asked me to do this. But it was fine because you don't get every job, and it was a friendship. It wasn't a professional relationship. But all of a sudden, this woman said to her, she called her up and she said, I've been working on the house in California. I've had this big hotshot designer doing it. It's been 8 months and I fired him. It's the worst experience I've had. I feel a little uncomfortable because we're friends, but I want to ask you if you'll come out and finish the house. Now, I know she asked her for two reasons. Number one, she probably realized, you know what, this is a good human, and I can trust this human. But secondly, how many people are going to go finish somebody's job? Right? Most people are going to be like, sorry, that's not my cup of tea, right? So she comes to me and she's like, I don't know how to price this. Like, first of all, I've never priced a job out of state. This is going back like 8 or 9 years ago. Never priced a job out of state. Secondly, is she going to think I'm going to give her a break because we're kind of friends in the book club? And, you know, it's not a clean slate. Like, there's lots of places I got to go in, and it's like 3/4 visit done. I got to finish it, right? So I said to her, so she took a visit. She took one exploratory visit out there. We came up with a price for the exploratory visit. The woman said yes. I think it was like $3,500 plus the airfare. I'm just coming. I'm walking the job. You're paying me to show up. She's like, oh, she knows my son lives like 45 minutes away from her in California. I think she's going to think that I'm going to do that first visit at no charge and combine it with a trip with my son. And I said, well, and if you do that, you will be giving away your value of this entire job. That's great that your son lives there. That's your bonus, not hers. If you're going to her house for the day to walk around and take, you know, copious notes on, you know, this room only needs paint, that room only needs a sofa, this needs a whole thing, you're getting paid. And if she doesn't pay you this $3,500, we know where her head is at. And you won't have lost a friend. She can simply say, oh, I don't think I'm going to do that. And you can say, that's okay, I'll see you next month at book club. We don't have any hard feelings. You don't go out there and think, I thought she would offer me money. Okay? So she comes back, and I said, so now we had to come up with the actual proposal. And I said to her, I said, well, we got to come up with, I said, I felt like at this project should be a flat fee. I felt like somebody come across the country plus a quasi-friend, it would be much cleaner if she could say, this is the design fee, and this is what I expect your budget to be. So that she wasn't feeling like and getting into a situation where she was nickel and diming her friend. Another $500, another $10,000, please. So, but I said, we got to get this flat fee real. So I said to her, you go do the work. You come back to me and tell me how many hours you expect to spend in each room. Because it was this you know, karaoke thing of all different crap that had to happen. And she's running through it. You're like, oh, living room, 20 hours. Oh, you know, primary bedroom, 18 hours. Oh, this. And I'm buying it because, you know, I don't design for a living. So I'm just like, okay, that seems good. That seems good. And then she said study, 3 hours. And I was, why is the study only 3 hours? Oh, because they just need window treatments there. I was like, oh. Just window treatments in the study. Is that true? And she said, yeah. And I said, and where do you arrive at 3 hours for window treatments? And she said, well, I mean, it's going to be a couple of drapes, probably a Roman shade. I said, okay, let's do the thing. So you're going to walk into the room. You're actually going to stand there and have a conversation with her about, do we need room darkening? Is there a TV in here? Do we want light filtering? Do we have landscapers outside the window? Do we need multiple layers of window treatments? Are we doing draperies? Are we doing silver rods, black rods, French returns? What are we doing? Are we doing trim on the draperies? Are we having them lined? Are we having them interlined? Are they having patterns? Are they going to be solids? What are they going to be? I said, so you know what? By the time you get all that done, that's an hour. All right? Now you leave. Now you have a plan. You know you're going to do a Roman shade, you're going to do draperies, you're going to do French returns on a black rod. We're good. Now you go back and source all that. So you're going to come to Jersey. You're going to go what? You're going to go to WindowWorks. You're going to go to the design center. Where are you going to source all that? You got stuff in your show, your own studio. Now you're going to pick the trim. You're going to pick the lining. You're going to pick the fabric. You're going to pick the rods. I'm telling you what, if you're fast as lightning, that's another hour. Okay? I said, now what do you got to do? Now you got to call WindowWorks. You got to get us the quota for you. You got to get me all the measurements. You got to get me all the specifications. You got to let that all up. You got to make it English to me, and you got to say to me, hey, LuAnn, I need a quote. And I'm going to say, okay. And then I'm going to give you a quote. Then you're going to get the quote. Then you got to review it. Then you got to put all the prices on it. How many yards of fabric do you need? This many yards. How much is that drapery rod? How much is every darn ring on that drapery rod cost? Are they $2 a ring or $4 a ring? What are you going to mark it up? I said, so there's another hour. We're 3 hours. Now you got to turn that quote around and give it to her. You got to put it in your pricing, on your paperwork. You've got to type it. You've got to do it. I said, and guess what? It's in California. Who's measuring this? Do you know how to measure window treatments? Do you know how to install them? Now you got to call up. What are you going to 1-800 drapery dude in California? Now you got to call your colleagues in California. You got to call the design centers. You got to find a window treatment installer. You got to get them out there to measure. You got to make the phone call. Hey, can you come on Tuesday? Not on Tuesday. She can only have Thursday. Oh, she's out of town. She's in Arizona. That could be another hour. I said, then when you finally get the price and you finally give it to her, she writes you a check. Now what do you got to do? Hey, LuAnn, I'm ready to go with that thing. What do you need? How many yards? And I got to send it to you. Now I got to call Kravitz. I got to order the yardage. I got to call Schumacher. I got to order the trim. I got to call, Bradley. I got to order the rods. We're up to 4 hours. I said, now you got to call me every week. Are they ready? Are they done? Is everything happening? What's going on? When are you going to ship them? Are they going to ship them? Here's the address. What's going to happen? Now you got to make sure they got there. Hey, installer dude, did you get there? I said, this is 6 hours if it's a minute. And at $200 an hour that your rate is, you just left $600 on the table, and that's one room. I said, so now tell me that living room. Is that 20 hours? She's like, oh, my God. No. I'm like, right, back to the drawing board, right? And so this is my point. When you're just like, I think it should be about 3 hours to do window treatments, that's the employee talking. That's not the owner saying accountability. Make sure every minute we spend on this is accounted for. Because her end-up project was probably about 75 hours, but it ended up being more than 140 when she did it for real. And you know what that woman did? Maybe we'll just finish these 4 rooms. Great! We're going to go in and we're going to do these 4 rooms. And she probably still got about 80 hours out of the job, got a decent, really good design fee out of it, made her markup, and anytime in the next 6 months she was there and the lady said, I don't know, maybe we should do that. Okay. We remember from the quote that was 15 hours. I'll send you an invoice for 15 hours. I'll start on it when I get back. Oh, it was 15 hours for that? Yes, it was. Because it's not this some loosey-goosey number that you just made up in your head and feels good, right? And this is the thing. When you do this, you will not give it away because you recognize how much of your heart and soul, intellect, talent, blood, sweat, and tears you're putting into it and how much it's worth. And they can have less of it. They can say, I don't want all 12 rooms. But they can't have all 12 rooms for the price of 4. And when you know what it is to do it, because you're the owner here and not just the executor, that combination is the most powerful combination you can give yourself in your business, right? So, first thing is understand mission, vision. Who are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing it? What's your reason for doing it? The second thing is to document those systems and processes because it pays you in dividends in every which way under the sun. And the third thing is just simply the decision. It's decide, do. It's decide, do. It's like, okay, this feels really crazy scary right now to say 140 hours for this project, but I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it. One time, Claire Jefford is a coach in the space. She came to WindowWorks in Livingston, and she did a lunch and learn for us. And I will never forget this analogy. She sat there and she said, now I'm going to sit here and try and do math on the top of my head. I should just memorize this one damn day. But one day she said, if you are $200 an hour and you leave 5 hours a week off, that's $1,000. Even if you only work 40 weeks a year between vacations and holidays and everything, it's $40,000. It's $40,000. 5 hours a week that you were like, I don't know, this client was 15 hours, I better tell them 12. That client was 20 hours, I better tell them 18. That client was 6, I better tell them 5. There's 5, boom, done. $40,000 a year. Now go back to the beginning. You have an employee that rips you off for $40,000? You think they work for you next year? The owner needs to hold the rules. The owner needs to know the rules and hold them. Right? It's like the biggest thing that I come across is in this type of situation, the yeah, but they just won't go for it. Yeah, that's true. Do you have everything you want in this world? I don't know. I don't have everything I want. You know, I want to go to Dubai. I've wanted to go to Dubai forever. I don't know why. I don't have any idea why. I want to walk the Camino de Santiago. I've done it for 1 week. I want to do the whole 450 kilometers. But you know what? I don't get everything I want. I got to run a business. I got to make dollar bills. I got people to pay. I got the people that are responsible for. I might get there one day, but oh, here we go. I promise you, whether, somebody comes to you and they're like, I really want to do this whole house, and I really want to do it for a $40,000 design fee, and it's an $80,000 one. It's like, yeah, and I want to walk the Camino. I don't know what to tell you. It's not happening, right? And when you know your value, you will not say, okay, well, I could do it for 35, right? So please take it to heart, right? You are the owner. You have a role as an owner. You have 1,000 hats that you wear as an employee, but you have one hat as an owner. And that is the one who sees the entire chess game and knows that when we walk away from 3 hours over here, or markup over here, or chaos over here because we haven't had the proper meetings with accountability, you're never going to feel like you own this thing. You're never going to feel like it all works. And it can. It all can. By the way, stuff's always going to go wrong, even if you are the best owner-manager, because, humans are involved, right? But so many less things go wrong, and your work and your life is so much more enjoyable because you feel like you're in charge of it, right? You feel like you got it. So I encourage you, I implore you, I beg you to take your owner role as seriously as you do your designer, your architect role, okay? Thank you. Thank you so much.